Okay, so this is our Exam 1 prep exercise, and it's an airline-themed program. I'll go ahead and demo it in online GDB. So let me run this. All right, so here's my output screen. We have the welcome message. Enter the 3-letter code of the departure airport. So let's say I'm flying from LAX. The destination airport is in Tokyo, which I believe is HND. And the flight distance in miles, I think it's something like this. It's over 5,000 miles. Okay, so then we're asked to display, well, the programmers will display for the user a flight report. Notice how I am using the data captured, the airport codes, for example. Those are in variables behind the scenes with the input statements. And then the total distance was 5,471 miles. We also, behind the scenes, converted that to kilometers for people who like their distance in kilometers. And also the flight time, we'll compute that as well. So really just two easy calculations, I would say, converting the miles to kilometers and then just determining the flight time in hours. And notice how we were displaying this to 2 decimal places as well. And that's it. There is something else. We'll have a simple if-else statement in this program. I'll talk about that part last, but we're told in the instructions that if the trip is 2,500 miles or greater, it qualifies for the Mega Miles program. Okay, then anything less than 2,500, we will display. Well, you know what? Let me run this again for you. I'll do a shorter trip. So let's say I'm going from Chicago O'Hare to Palm Springs, California, and the distance in miles is, I believe, about this, under 2,000 miles. So this is not going to qualify for Mega Miles. And here we are with the report. That's under 4 hours of travel. And then it says add 521 miles to your trip to qualify for Mega Miles. So it's really just a subtraction. We're subtracting that amount from the 2,500 benchmark and telling them if you add that much, then you can qualify. I do have a little airplane emoji. Look at online GDB, drop the ball on that. We don't care. That's not important. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the program here. Let's see. Okay, so here are the instructions. It's kind of like one of my homework assignments for standalone programs, so you're used to this type of format. But we will really begin with creating some variables. I suggest doing these up at the top. You don't necessarily have to, but I think it's a good idea to just lay out all your variables at the top. That's what the professionals do. We've talked about that in class. And just to, have everything up at the top. And so you can kind of reference, you know where to reference your variable names. As you know, variable names are crucial, and consistency is everything. Case sensitivity, just no character out of place. Once you create a variable, that's the name, and you've got to use it. So what I've done here, I know that I'm going to ask for the departure airport code. That is a string. So I named my variables very explicitly. You can see that. That's something that you should be doing as well. And it's a string, so I initiated that with a null string. I did the same for the destination airport. I know I'm going to ask the user for a distance in miles, okay? So I did distance mi, and I set that to 0. That is a numeric type, right? And then I know that I'm going to be converting the distance in miles to kilometers. So I created a second variable for that. And then here's one thing we're told in the instructions is that when we're converting the trip time, the flight time in hours, we're told in the instructions to just assume that a commercial airliner, like a 737, 747, that will fly on average 500 miles per hour. I don't know if that's the case, but we're told 500 is the magic number for your calculation. So I did MPH equals 500. So I could just plug that into my calculation when I'm ready. And then the flight time, I'll be calculating that as well. So those are the variables needed. All right. And I think I'll just go through the input statements and then I'll end this video and then I'll pick it up with a second video for the rest of the program. So here's my print statement. Welcome to United Airlines. Easy enough. And then we have an input statement for the first airport code. Okay. Notice how I'm putting that into the departure airport. That's how the program executes, right? Enter the 3-letter code for the departure airport. I'm putting that into the appropriate variable using an input. So very straightforward input statement. These are strings, so I don't have to worry about converting the data type as it's coming into the program. Okay, I did the same for the destination airport. Okay, and now the distance in miles. All right, this one I do have to convert to numeric. I'm going to be doing math with this value, so be extra careful when you're taking the actual exam. If you're dealing with numeric data that you're going to have to do math with, then you're going to have to convert it and consider data types. Now here, I could have made this a float. I just did an int. You know, when we're talking about these large distances, nobody really says, nobody really talks about fractional miles. When I say, oh, between Chicago and LA, that's 2,000 miles. I wouldn't say that's 2,000.25 miles. You know what I mean? So int is fine for the mileage. Okay. The hours are not are more specific. If I'm calculating the flight time, there's a big difference between 3 hours and 3.5 hours or 3.95 hours. Okay. So we are going to have to deal with a float when we compute the flight time, but let's not worry about that. So these are the input statements. I'm going to end this video and then I'll do a second video for the rest of the program.